All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development program, and in particular the AWD1111.NET Framework with Web Databases course, I've decided to make a 5-part presentation based on the C#corner.com ASP.NET MVC interview questions. A set of 50 questions, of which I'm answering a portion of them, or going through a portion of them, to try to get people on the road to MVC. All right, I've already done 3 presentations. Questions 1 through 10 were in presentation 1. Questions 11 through 20 were in presentation 2. Questions 21 to 30 were in presentation 3. This 4th one will be questions 31 through 40, and the last presentation will be questions 41 to 50. So this question here, number 31, how can we pass data from a controller to a view in MVC? Well, the good news is we've already talked a little bit about view data, and we've talked about view bag, and we've talked about temp data. All right. So although this says MVC4, I'm going to bring that article up. Various ways to pass data from a controller to a view. Now you'll notice they've got a lot of the same information right here. All right, but what I like about this, notice what it says here. Create an MVC application to understand the differences. All right, and they have you run through and go through the differences between them. All right. I have used temp data, but not much. All right. I have used view data, but not much. I've used view bag quite a bit. You're going to see examples of all this stuff as we go on in here. Question 32. What is scaffolding in MVC? Well, I did go over that already, so I don't believe I have to really talk about it in much depth and breadth of coverage. The only thing is, I do like the advantages that they give here. Minimal or no code to create database or data-driven web applications. Faster development time. Pages that are fully functional and include display, insert, edit, delete, sorting, paging without having to write any code. Built-in data validation based on database schema and filters created for each foreign key and Boolean fields. So again, this would be another example of where you'd probably want to go in here and take a look at what they talk about in here. Question 33, what is ViewStart? As it says here, the Razor View engine introduced a new layout named _ViewStart, which by default is applied to each view automatically. Notice the Razor View engine executes the _ViewStart and then starts rendering the other view and merges them together. So if I go back here to my full MVC and I look at ViewStart, what does it say? Well, it says that by default we want to set our layout to tilde, which means from the root, views shared layout.cshtml, and that file is going to be right there, and it's basically saying we want each of these to be laid out in the same way. All right, so if I go to index here and I view the browser or view this file in the browser, nothing new here. what I want you to see is we're at the home page and we're at the index of the home page. Still loading. What we're going to see is, for lack of better words, what you get out of the box here. Okay? But notice home, about, contact. All right? Contact, about, and home. All right? So why am I taking the time to show you that? Because by using that full scaffolding that we did before, all right, by using that, we got everything set up we wanted. Not, a lot of code pre-written for us. Not only that, when we come in here, if I go to models, if I go to controllers and I right mouse click and I choose add controller, notice what I can do here. Yes, I can have an empty controller, but I can also set up an MVC5 controller that has read-write capabilities, or even one that immediately writes a lot of code for me that will interact with the entity framework. It'll write a lot of CRUD code for me. All right? Okay. Jump back into our article here. Question 34, what is a JSON result type? It says action methods on controllers return JavaScript object notation, which is what JSON is, result that can be used in an AJAX application. AJAX is an acronym. It used to stand for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Now it's just more asynchronous JavaScript, because even more so than XML, JSON is what we're working with. It allows you to do what's called a partial page refresh. Question 35, we've already gone over. What is temp data? Question 36, we've already gone over. How to use the view bag. Question 37, we've already gone over. What are the differences between view bag and view data? Question 38. What is the data annotation validator attributes? Well, the key thing with data annotation is it's a way that you can perform validation. And you can perform it on the client side, you can perform it on the server side, or you can perform it on both the client and server side. This is one of those validation summaries that we talked about before. Notice the customer code must be a minimum of 5. We only made it 3. The name has a minimum of 5, and we only made it 2. The amount should be between 1,000 and 10,000, and we put 788. So we've got invalid characters in there. What you can do with annotations is you can specify that a field is one or more of these. You can specify that a field is required. And if you leave it out, you can even specify an associated error message. You can go and use regular expression handling. So if you want to make sure, for example, that a field contains only alphabetic letters, you can do that. Here would be lowercase letters only. You can specify a range. So you can say this would be the minimum acceptable value, the maximum acceptable value. All right, you can do a very similar thing, and that is to use a string length. where you can put in a minimum and you can put in a maximum. Or you can just say minimum or maximum. Again, I'd suggest you look at the Adding Custom Validation in MVC article that's here. All right. Question 38, I'm not going to go over. Or 38, I just went over. 39, I'm not going to go over. How do we do custom error pages in MVC? All right. And question 40, server-side validation in MVC. Already talked about this a little bit. It says there, the ASP.NET MVC frameworks validates any data passed to the controller action it is executing. It populates a model state object that can be queried to discover whether or not what you put in there is valid. So, I have now gone through the first 40 questions of our 50 questions. So when I come back in just a couple minutes, we'll go through the last 10 questions. Some of these, again, will be skipped, FYI, such as, if I look at the next question here, what is the use of remote validation? Not going to go over it. Why? Because I haven't really done much, if any. So I'll be back with the last part of this series momentarily.